out what's happening on the Voice America Talk Radio Network by keeping up with us on Twitter. You can find us at Voice America TRN. The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101 with host Susan Bartlestone. We're so happy you've joined us. Over the next hour, you'll learn the tips, tricks, and vital information that'll help you keep yourself confident and safe. Now, here's the host of Crime Prevention 101, Susan Bartlestone.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. And I am so glad that you joined me because I'm covering a really important topic tonight. Now, back in March, I got an email from a listener that basically said the following, and I'm kind of paraphrasing. We actually had several emails. She said, in July of 2006, I got a 3 a.m. call from a trauma hospital in the Bronx, and that Bronx is in New York City, telling me that a family member had been the victim of a brutal beating and I'd better get down there. Wait till I tell you the struggle I went through when I arrived and asked the staff not to make this person sign papers, making him responsible for the hospital bills. Now, I'm a registered nurse and a member of the International Association of Forensic Nurses Governmental Affairs Committee, and I had just finished a course where I learned about the New York State Crime Victims Board and how it would pay medical bills for crime victims, like my family member. I helped save this person over $100,000 in medical bills, and I'd be happy to share my story on your show. And it was signed Bridget Mayberry, RN, MSN. Well, I knew that I had to have Bridget on the show and talk about this. And since April 10th through 16th is National Crime Victims' Rights Week, coming up right around the corner now, this is the perfect show to have her on. And I've also invited Tina Stanford, the director of the New York State Office of Victim Services, that's what the New York Crime Victims Board is now called. And I invited her to come on the show and explain how the victim compensation program works, what your rights are if you're a crime victim, and exactly what you're entitled to receive compensation for. And I want you to listen carefully because every state has a victim compensation program. So this is really important information for everyone to know about. Then I've got Identity Theft Prevention Specialist Paige Peterson from LifeLock back on with me. And we're going to be talking about some of the newly released statistics about identity theft and a topic that I recently heard about, electronic pickpocketing. And if you don't know what that is, better pay close attention because now an identity thief only has to walk next to you to steal your credit card numbers. This makes me absolutely crazy. Now, we're going to talk all about that. And then last up in the personal safety product segment, I've got my buddies from the Sabre Pepper Spray Personal Safety Company on to talk about my favorite weapon in my crime prevention arsenal, pepper spray, a product that really does help deter crime. So be sure to stick around for that. Well, this is Susan Bartlestone, and you're listening to Crime Prevention 101, coming to you live from New York City, where everyone is hot, even when it's cool outside. And I've got a quick reminder for you before we start. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month as well. And my show next week will have a ton of information about this topic, so keep your iPods peeled for that, or pads. And if you just can't wait, a good resource is preventchildabuse.org. You can find out more about this topic there. April is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And if you missed last week's show where I talked about what you or your organization can do to observe SAM, S-A-M as we call it, go to the podcast of the show on my blog, crimeprevention101.com, and you can listen to it there. I gave out a lot of resources on the show, and you can take a look at nsvrc.org/SAAM. Also, now real quick, before I introduce my first guest, I just want to take 1 minute to read you a few of the core rights that crime victims are entitled to. And every state has basic rights for crime victims. Definitions and specifics do vary from state to state, so you'll need to check with the Office of Victim Services in your particular state for information. And this source list is from Victim Law, which is victimlaw.info. And it's a great website with lots of resources. Just to give you an idea quickly, you have the right to attend criminal justice proceedings. You have the right to be heard and participate in criminal justice proceedings. You have the right to protection from intimidation and harassment. You have the right to apply for compensation, and you have the right for to restitution from the offender. This is just kind of a general overview. You also, in most of the states, you have the right to be informed of proceedings and events, such as the release of the defendant. So for a more comprehensive list, it's victimlaw.info. All right, let's meet my first guest. Now, Bridget is, as she said, she is a forensic nurse. She's a member of the International Association of Forensic Nurses Governmental Affairs Committee and a Crime Prevention 101 listener. And she was interviewed about by CNN about healthcare not too long ago. And when she brought up the topic of victim compensation, that interview had never heard anything about it. And I'm sure that many of you haven't heard about it either. Bridget, welcome to Crime Prevention 101.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Well, thank you so much for your email also, and it's just a pleasure. Now, very briefly, talk about what happened to your family member that day that brought you to the trauma hospital.
Sure. It had been raining in New York for several days, and it stopped raining, and this family member, who's in his 30s, decided to go out for a run. We were at a family birthday party, and everybody scattered. I didn't know where everybody else went. The party ended. We had a great time. 3 a.m., I receive a phone call from a Trauma 1 hospital located in the Bronx, letting me know that this family member is here and that he was a victim of a crime, badly beaten, et cetera, and robbed. So,
and this was really a really brutal beating that
it was brutal. He was basically left to be dead. And I later thanked the person who found him to help. 911 was activated, and he was brought to this Trauma 1. And I didn't even know where this hospital was. I thought this was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a dream. So I tried to get myself together and go into the car and figure out on the GPS, where am I going? The roads were very silent. It was a very quiet night. And I arrived, and I just, again, used my nursing skills of, I hope he's not intubated. I hope he's subconscious. I tried to rule out the good things.
Mm-hmm.
I arrived to the hospital, said who I was. He brought me to his bedside, and he was able to talk to me. So I said, I'm happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
He did sustain a fracture of his eye. They actually weren't even sure at this point, could he even see. Sustained his nose, they told me, was just like moved, just taken off his face. And it was all covered up and bandaged and bleeding. Again, for no reason. He told me he went out for the run. These 3 guys surrounded him, used brass knuckles, robbed him, beat him, punched. He never met them before in his life, never met them. Later I learned after him, these same individuals did this to 2 other guys after him. They thought, perhaps NYPD thought, is this gang related, like they're trying to do an initiation or something of hurting people going down the street. But I don't know the answer to it.
That's awful story. And I think you said in your email it resulted in over $100,000 worth of
correct
medical
surgery,
bills.
over $100,000. I remained by his bedside, and one of the detectives from NYPD did come because they were still collecting more information about the case. And then after that detective left, I I was just talking with him and asking, what are the details about the case, and trying to, again, I felt like I was in a dream. Like, you just don't think it's going to happen to you or a friend or a family, and it was a very hard feeling to go through. What I didn't appreciate was someone from the inner core. I don't believe it was a clinical person. Just kept approaching him and saying, "You will be paying for this, so I need you to sign the dotted line." And I explained. I said, "Let me speak for the person. He's changing careers, and his insurance just ran out. He doesn't have insurance at this point, but there is something called," and I defined and explained what the Crimes Victim Board is about, and the person said they never heard of such a thing, and then said, "Are you refusing to sign?" And I said, "That's not what I'm saying. I'm going to be this person's advocate, that I need to speak with them, but right now it's 3 a.m, and as soon as 8 o'clock comes, I'll speak with the person." This was a Thursday evening.
Bridget, the thing that really astonishes me is that nobody had ever heard that crime victims are
Correct.
entitled to compensation and under, eligibility and so forth.
Correct.
They knew nothing about this.
Correct. Later, I put some calls out to friends of mine who work in NYPD, and one of my friends, he's a detective, came as a friend to my side, and when we were upstairs, he was admitted onto a unit, and now someone from the OR was going to put him onto a stretcher and take him down. The person from the business office actually stopped him from going out through the door and said, "No, you are not leaving till you sign this paper because you're paying for this." I, again, gave the speech. "Please," I said, "allow him to go to the OR. He doesn't have insurance. There's something called the Crimes Victim Board. He's a victim of a crime. I will contact them. I'll get the paperwork processed." They still said, "I'm sorry, you're signing the paper." It was my friend who was with me, took out his badge in a room, in an inpatient room, and flashed his badge and addressed himself with his title and name and said, "Please believe Bridget. She's a nurse, and what she's telling you is true. Ask your supervisor." They allowed my family member to leave at that point. Then she came up about 20 minutes later with her head down and said, basically she never heard of such a thing, but her supervisor knew of it, and when I get the case number to give it to her and process it, and it ended.
See, now that's the point that I wanted to make out of this. If you hadn't been there would have been no one advocating for this victim.
Correct.
And, this just astonishes me. Your brother was never informed of his rights. Most of the hospital staff didn't know anything about it, including the billing department, which presumably they have seen this before. And, I don't know what, I know, speaking as a nurse, maybe you've seen this thing before since 2006, and I've got the director of what's now the Office of Victim Services coming on, Bridget, and I'm going to ask her what she thinks hospitals can do about this and why people don't know about these victim compensation programs.
Sure.
It's just an incredible story, and that was an amazing thing that you did. So I want to thank you so much for bringing it to my attention, and maybe we can do some good on the show by bringing it to other people's attention.
Thank you, and that's why I wanted to share it, so that it can help another person. Hopefully they don't have to go through what I went through, because it added to more stress. Absolutely,
and I hope that this person is recovering, and I hope that they got those dirt bags. I truly do.
No, they actually didn't capture them, but
I'm sorry.
3 guys. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing. And my wonderful audience, if you'd like me to focus on a particular issue here at Crime Prevention 101, just email me at solutions@fightsafe.com or post a comment on my blog, and you might be able to tell your story on the show, too, like Bridget. Thanks again, Bridget. Let's see if we can get some help.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Up next, if you've been a crime victim, all 50 states have victim services divisions and compensations programs. We're going to talk about how it works in New York State, and just to give you an idea who's entitled and what's covered. So stay tuned.
Stimulating talk.
It gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 Internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com.
Hi, this is Susan Bartlestone, host of Crime Prevention 101, and I want to tell you about My Mobile Witness, a revolutionary service that transforms your camera phone into a personal safety device. My Mobile Witness believes safety is improved when you remove anonymity from dangerous scenarios. If you're in a stalking situation, for example, if you have an order of protection against someone, or if your profession places you in situations that are potentially dangerous, I want you to check out My Mobile Witness. And you parents of college students, ask the school to check out the My Mobile Witness University program with custom-tailored options aimed at keeping both students and faculty safe. Every campus could benefit from the My Mobile Witness University service. For more information, go to mymobilewitness.com.
Get ready to change your life. Achieve your dreams, become a success story, and accomplish so much more. Tune in to Life Radio with Todd Newton. It's your open access to leading authors, experts, and trainers from the world of self-improvement, hosted by one of the world's top certified life coaches and motivational speaker, Todd Newton. Achieve the highest levels of personal development in all areas of your life. Listen to Life Radio with Todd Newton, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on the Voice America Variety Channel.
Violence, theft, drugs, graffiti, it's all part of joining a gang. In times like these, we need to protect our kids and our community from gangs. Gangs often prey on teens with low self-esteem who perform poorly in school and who seek a sense of belonging. Protect kids from gangs. Know who they're hanging out with. Encourage them to become involved in school activities. Give kids a positive alternative to gangs. To learn more, visit ncpc.org or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Streaming live, the leader in Internet talk radio, voiceamerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone.
Hello there, Susan Bartlestone here, and this is Crime Prevention 101, the radio show with an optimistic perspective on a sober subject. Please start tweeting about us. There's plenty of show left for people to tune in for. Why not follow me on Twitter? I'm on Facebook. Come join the movement. If you'd like to find out more about National Crime Victims' Rights Week, go to the Office of Justice Programs. It's ovc.ncjrs.gov/ncvrw. And if you're not a speed writer, I'm going to post all these links on my crimeprevention101.com blog. Now, let's meet Tina Stafford, who is the director of the New York State Office of Victim Services. As an ADA in Buffalo, New York, Tina worked with thousands of crime victims and their families over the years. In 2007, she became the chairwoman of the New York State Crime Victims Board and now serves as director of the Office of Victim Services, which is what the Crime Victims Board is now called in New York. And she also serves on the New York State Domestic Violence Advisory Council, Task Force on Human Trafficking, and many, many more among her other duties. So, Tina, welcome, and thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Now, on the segment before, I had a listener who wrote in, and she actually, it was her idea, the suggestion for this topic. She had been called to the hospital in the middle of the night. A family member had been really brutally beaten. This person he had no insurance. Was in between jobs, and she was a forensic nurse, and she had just taken a course on the victim's compensation, and she had a tremendous fight with the hospital staff. They were actually interfering with treatment at one point because she refused to let this person sign those forms. She wanted him processed as a victim. So let's talk about the New York State Office of Victim Services. What do you do, and why don't people know about you? You need to know.
Oddly strange well-kept secrets. The
Indeed.
agency has been in existence since 1966. So it's hard to imagine that everybody doesn't know about us, but yet and still they don't. Our primary partners are, of course, law enforcement and the hospitals. Every hospital in our state is supposed to post our information and share our information through their staff, through their social work staff, through even their billing staff with patients that appear in the emergency room. In fact, if you are a sexual assault victim, you have the option for the hospital to be directly reimbursed from the agency as opposed to billing your insurance even if you have insurance. And that's an exception. Sexual assault victims are an exception in New York for that direct reimbursement to the hospital or the provider of the forensic rape exam. But
now,
for
I didn't
all
even
other
know
crime
that.
victims, I'm sorry.
I did not even know that, and I knew about crime victims' rights.
But for all other victims, they have access to the benefits through a claim application that even allows for emergency awards if it would cause them undue financial difficulty to wait for the claim application to run its normal course, which could be several weeks. So we could get an emergency award to a victim within hours under certain circumstances. And we get a lot of requests for those in the case of burial expenses for homicide victims.
My God. How much would be a typical emergency benefit? Is there a limit?
There is a limit. It's $2,500. So $2,500 is the limit. We will pay up to $6,000 for burial expense, related funeral costs for a homicide victim. We also have occasion to assist people with moving expenses or security expenses if they're the victim of, say, a stalking-type crime or a domestic violence crime and they need to get to safety quickly. We will assist with emergency benefits in those circumstances as well. So those are the typical that we get those emergency requests for. A request for medication that might be prescribed coming out of the emergency room for someone who has no other health insurance. And under normal circumstances, with the exception of the forensic rape exam, direct reimbursement, we are payer of last resort. So if a person has medical insurance, they have to access that first. And then if there's a portion that their medical provider insurance won't provide for, we pick up the difference or assist with copays and things of the like. Wow.
Okay. Now, some of this I didn't even know, and I went to the website and I was looking at some of these are unreimbursed crime-related expenses. Like we should, make that clear. That something that medical insurance wouldn't pay for or wouldn't pay the whole thing for. And what are some of the other, and medical and burial that you mentioned, what are some of the other expenses that would qualify?
Counseling expenses.
And that's for like post-traumatic stress disorder.
Exactly.
Like that.
Counseling expenses for the victim and also for certain family members in the case of a homicide or in the case of a crime against a child. We will pay, for example, for the counseling expenses for their close family members as well to help them cope with what's happened to the child. Also, lost wages or lost support. So if you're the person who was injured, who can't go to work now because you've got a broken arm and a doctor's written you a note for a week or two off or longer, you're losing your wages. So we will assist up to $30,000 for lost wages. Also, transportation for necessary court appearances. You've been subpoenaed to testify in the grand jury. You've been subpoenaed to testify at the trial, and you have to get to court, whether it's your mileage or it's your token fee or your cab fee. We will assist with that, even if you have to come from out of state. If the district attorney's office that you're working with isn't picking up that cost, we will assist to get you back here for court. And, of course, if you're a victim of crime in New York State and you don't live in New York State, that could be a real expense for you because you're not going to stay here until your case goes to trial. So if you have to travel back here for the purpose of trial, we can assist with that.
And you would file in New York State for this reimbursement. You would file the paperwork and so forth. Interesting.
Yes, it generally is tied to where the crime occurs, and we have the same arrangement with other states. Every state has some form of compensation agency. And every state will pay for certain crimes that a citizen might be eligible for within their state and their state guidelines that occurs within their state. And so if you are a New York resident and you are a crime victim in another state that doesn't have compensation, but as I said, every state really does, but I suppose there's a possibility that they don't cover something that we might cover. There might be the opportunity still for us to assist even if the crime occurs in another state. But that rarely happens that we're faced with that kind of situation.
But good to know.
Shelters, crime cleanup, but you have to be an eligible victim too. And the first and foremost hurdle there is to be able to show that you are a victim of a crime. So we do require a police report be made when you are a crime victim or shortly thereafter, and some police agency indicating for the record that you have reported yourself as a crime victim. Doesn't have to result in a conviction or go to that extreme, but we have to at least have that initial crime report listing the person as a victim, and then the person has to be an innocent victim of crime. And the only thing in our statute that helps us define what that really means is contributory conduct. So if you were the initial aggressor and you got hurt, you're likely going to not have an award made by us or have your award reduced by your
spouse. Yes, if you get hurt while you're committing a crime,
right, that's just
not
too
eligible
bad for you. Yeah.
Not eligible, right.
Yeah, because of course that would take away from someone who was truly an innocent victim of crime.
Absolutely.
We don't.
Relatives and dependents in certain cases also are eligible, as you said.
Surviving spouse, child, parent, brother, sister, stepbrother, stepsister, step-parent, or the person primarily dependent on the victim for support can get loss of support. So if the wage earner in the home was the homicide victim, then those children and that remaining spouse who were supported by that person can get, again, up to $30,000 of lost support.
That's so important. Certain stalking victims, it says here, victims of terrorist acts.
Yes. So therefore, when September 11th occurred, of course, a lot of the rules were expanded to encompass as many of those victims as possible. And thankfully, we don't have too many terrorist occurrences in our state that bring us new groups of victims. But when and if they do occur, or mass crimes such as the shooting in Binghamton almost 2 years ago now, 2 years ago actually this week, those are mass crime instances, and we can assist and are poised to assist in those cases as well. And, of course, the stalking victims, this is mainly repeated behavior, repeated calling, repeated following you around in public, showing up at your house, things that you would think of as stalking. Those kinds of things.
And also it says here, victims of frivolous lawsuits brought by a person who committed a crime against the victim.
Yes, and frankly, I've not seen one of those yet in my 4 years here. But the law does allow us to assist in those cases as well. And also for, say, an elderly person or even not an elderly person who's the victim of identity theft, who's been caused considerable harm of a financial nature, we can assist with what we call financial counseling to help get that person back on track up to the amount that they lost. Unfortunately, though, we don't have the capacity to pay back the monies that were lost in a typical identity theft case.
Sure.
In fact, our cash maximum for an award for cash is only $100. So for essential personal property, the maximum is $500, but cash in that category is only $100. So we really try to encourage the courts to order restitution where an arrest is made and where a conviction is obtained. Order restitution is particularly in those cases because we don't have the authority to make payments beyond $100.
Sure, well, that's understandable. All right, now Tina, for my New York listeners, if they have questions, and this is just a partial list, so for the whole list you want to go to that website. So give out the website, please.
It's www.ovs.ny.gov. That's for Office of Victim Services, newyork.gov, ovs.ny.gov. And we have 3 offices. Our main office is in Albany, Columbia Circle. Then we have an office at 55 Hanson Place, the newly named Shirley Chisholm Building in Brooklyn, and also an office in a state office building on Court Street in Buffalo, New York. And all that information is obtainable from the website, too, and we have a 1-800 number, 1-800-247-8035.
Fantastic. And if you're not a New York State resident, you can look up the Victim Compensation Programs, the Office for Victims of Crimes, OVC, and it's ojp.usdoj.gov/OVC. I'm going to post it if you didn't get it, speed writing. Tina, thanks so much for being with me and giving out. This is such important information. I hope that if for those of you that need it, that you will go to that National Office for Victims of Crime to find out what's in your state. Thank you again, Tina, for being with me. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much. And I invite all your listeners to try to catch one of the commemorative events next week during National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which starts on Sunday.
Absolutely. All right. Nowadays,
thank you so much.
Electronically savvy ID thieves only have to pass next to you in order to steal your credit card numbers. Find out how you can protect yourself when we come back.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. That's it. VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartlestone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information.
If you think you've seen online TV before, let us surprise you.
VoiceAmerica.tv is online now.
The leader in live Internet talk radio has done it again. Multiple channels, a state-of-the-art viewing experience, live and on-demand programs streaming 24 hours a day. It's exactly what you want, when you want it.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
From health and wellness to business, sports, and everything in between. Discover our new world. Visit VoiceAmerica.tv now and experience the future of online television.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
You're walking alone. A group of people is hanging out just ahead. Suddenly, they surround you.
Hey, yo, where you going? Come here.
Before you know it, you're being robbed. It's called a pack robbery, a robbery involving a group of assailants, and it can be violent. In times like these, trust your instincts. Don't become their next victim. Avoid suspicious groups. Avoid desolate or poorly lighted areas. Be aware of your surroundings. To learn more about pack robberies, visit ncpc.org or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Stimulating talk.
It gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 Internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone.
Yes, welcome back to Crime Prevention 101. I'm Susan Bartlestone. Don't forget, we are available on iTunes. You never have to be without us. I want to give you one final resource for crime victims, National Center for Victims of Crime. It's ncvc.org. And don't forget, I'm posting everything because these are some long URLs here. Now let's talk with Paige Peterson from LifeLock Identity Theft Prevention Company. Paige is an identity theft prevention specialist. Since 2006, she's worked with this high-profile LifeLock company where she's the manager of educational programs. And this is her third appearance on Crime Prevention 101, and I'm so delighted. Thank you for coming back and talking with me. And we're going to talk about electronic pickpocketing, but I want to, Paige, before we start that, let's talk really quickly. There were some statistics just released. Just give me a couple of bullet points about what they show about ID theft.
Well, the Federal Trade Commission just released a report of last year, their identity theft statistics, and overall, identity theft was their number one complaint of people filing a complaint. 1.3 million people filed a complaint, and 19% of those complained about identity theft or fraud. So being it's the number one complaint, it's fast growing. It's the number one complaint. But we saw an increase of document benefits and government documents and benefits. So driver's license, passports, Social Security cards, more fraud. That jumped 3%, which is pretty high when it comes to the statistics we're seeing. So more fraudulent ways they're using those documents.
Well, we knew it was increasing. I didn't know how bad it was, but this is not good news, right?
Oh, no, especially when it's, again, it's your personal information, and in fact, it's so easy, to get, and the fact that they're using, Social Security numbers to work under your name, and right now during tax season, that's the big thing happening, is they're filing your tax returns on behalf of you.
Well, they wouldn't get anything from me, but
well, you're right. You know what? If you do it right, you usually don't get. You try not to get a big refund at the end. That free loan to the government. So, but there's some people that do rely on that refund, and they get a letter back in the mail saying that they've already filed, or maybe they possibly owe some extra money because they entered things incorrectly. But it's unfortunate.
Turns out to be identity fraud. Well, that's just awful. All right. Now, let's talk about what I've been getting so many questions about this. Now, this is the new wrinkle in identity theft. What exactly is electronic pickpocketing?
Well, what it is, it's a chip in your credit card, passport, driver's license. It's called an RFID chip, and it stands for radio frequency identification. And what it's doing, it's constantly transmitting a signal, because what credit card companies and financial institutions have found is you can actually host more information on that chip than a magnetic stripe on your credit card. And so what the electronic pickpocketers are doing is they are and getting an antenna and capturing that signal it's giving, therefore giving your credit card numbers and your expiration date, and they have it without they don't even have to touch you. They don't have to touch the card physically. They just get it from being 3 inches to 3 feet away from you.
They can just be walking in a crowd, passing next to you. It's just
yeah. Think of the last time you were in a crowded area and, somebody might bump into you, no big deal. Well, they could have very well just swiped your information from your driver's license, passport, and credit card if you have all of those that have the RFID chips in them.
And this is since 2006. They started using these RFID things.
Well, technology, we get, more savvy, and we're going to make things easier for the consumer. Well, actually, it makes it more your identity theft's going to happen more easily now.
And, somebody on my Facebook sent me an article from Popular Mechanics, of all things, that said that these RFID chips are, in addition to credit, debit cards, and passports, they're used in card keys like hotel keys.
Yes, and I'm so glad you mentioned this, because not only hotel keys, but actually cars as well. The wireless, you go and you just put your key in your pocket, and you can start your car by pushing a button. Well, the same thing. I can transmit the signal. You're going to have to be a little bit more savvy if you're an identity thief and try to steal the car, because there is a little bit of a mathematical configuration. But, as soon as you figure it out, you could have a $100,000 car within seconds.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but government, military, and port of entry ID cards also have these RFID strips. Now that is even scarier, because
It is very scary because not only are they gaining access to a certain building or maybe it has certain information, but think about the information that could be on that strip if it was, a government clearance card or anything like that. I mean, that's scary that we could be releasing that information just to the public, which can be then, uploaded to the internet very easily and then gone around the world within seconds.
Yes, and government better be getting on this quickly.
Well,
right?
Speaking of that, so we do our law enforcement training here at LifeLock. We've done 54 summits around the United States, and we get questions oftentimes of how do you protect, consumers ask, how do we protect ourselves? And so they've come up with little devices to put your cards in. I know I went to and spoke at a AAA just recently, and they had little pocket protectors. And then some people say wrap aluminum foil, tin foil around your card, but that will work for just the standard reader, the ones that are, 3 inches.
But by the way, that means you have to unwrap the card every time
the card when you get it out, absolutely, when you go to pay.
How annoying is that?
I know, but, with less than $100, I can buy an amplifier. I can increase the range. It's not 3 inches. It now can become 3 feet, 5 feet, something like that. And if it's a big enough antenna or anything like that, I can get your card information, even though you might have aluminum foil or, the devices that they're creating now to, quote-unquote, protect yourself.
I was just going to ask you about that. I saw a couple of devices that looked interesting. There was an aluminum wallet, and there was a nickel-coated nylon. This was a passport holder, or you could get wallets or things like that. So are you saying that these things don't really work that well?
If somebody wants your information bad enough, they can get a stronger signal to get your information. The possibility, you actually are protecting yourself to a degree, only because, there's not going to be a small percentage of people doing this electronic pickpocketing aren't going to have, the technology in place and the amplifiers and things like that, because you do need to put some money in it if you're going to get, a bigger and stronger signal. But it definitely helps a little bit, but it's not going to, 100% prevent it from happening.
So is there anything else you recommend?
When it comes to passports, and this is what I've been reading on this a little bit, but they say with passports that it does not transmit a signal if it's fully closed. So in the case of, if you get one of those passport holders that's lined with nickel, aluminum, anything like that, that's going to protect you more than just having your passport in your wallet. Versus your credit card is always going to be transmitting a signal because it's, just a piece of plastic. There's nothing to kind of close it like a passport.
I see. So there's not a whole lot we can do right now about this.
There really isn't. But the good thing about the credit card industry and the financial industry is they've seen that this is a problem. They first did this for your convenience, added this RFID chip. Now they realize that, yes, this is becoming a problem. So if you call into your credit card company, tell them that you no longer want this RFID chip in your card, they should switch it, no questions asked. They'll send
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I guess some of your listeners might be listening and saying, oh, do I have any of those on my credit card? And what you look for is, I have a credit card actually, and it looks like a parentheses, the back end of a parentheses. It's either 3 or 4 in a row, and it's on the top right hand of my credit card. And on the back, it says PayPass. So there's some sort of indication that it would be. So you would know if you had this sort of RFID chip in it.
I see. Good. Fantastic. All right, Paige, we did it again. Fantastic. Great information. If people have more questions for you about this, and I urge you also check the lifelock.com website because they've got some really good scam alerts now with the Japanese, the tsunami and everything. I think I read that over 4,000 fraudulent charities came up after Hurricane Katrina. So check the lifelock.com website for up-to-date information about these scams. Thanks so much, Paige. You know you're going to come back again, right?
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to it. Thanks so much, Susan.
My pleasure. All right, now, my wonderful audience, stay right where you are. When we come back, my favorite personal safety product ever, to prevent becoming a crime victim, that is pepper spray. We'll be right back.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. That's it. VoiceAmerica.com.
Hi, this is Susan Bartlestone, host of Crime Prevention 101, and I want to tell you about My Mobile Witness, a revolutionary service that transforms your camera phone into a personal safety device. My Mobile Witness believes safety is improved when you remove anonymity from dangerous scenarios. If you're in a stalking situation, for example, if you have an order of protection against someone, or if your profession places you in situations that are potentially dangerous, I want you to check out My Mobile Witness. And you parents of college students, ask the school to check out the My Mobile Witness University program with custom-tailored options aimed at keeping both students and faculty safe. Every campus could benefit from the My Mobile Witness University service. For more information, go to mymobilewitness.com.
Every day, people are afraid to report violent crimes. In times like these, choosing to report a crime or helping the police can be a difficult decision. A no-snitching culture has sprung up in our communities, making it unpopular and sometimes even dangerous to report a crime. Do the right thing by calling 911 or your local crime tip line. If you're the victim of a crime, report it. If you know about a crime, report it. To learn more about how to do the right thing, visit ncpc.org or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartlestone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information. The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone.
Hello. Yes, Susan Bartlestone. This is Crime Prevention 101. Let's talk pepper spray. And I want to introduce Amy Johnson from the Saber Red Safety Product Company. Hello, Amy. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And this is actually the second time I've had Saber on. I love pepper spray. I think it's fantastic, and I want everyone to know about it. So for those people that really don't know, tell them what pepper spray is and what it does.
The Saber pepper spray is a non-lethal option. It projects heat towards your eyes to create an unbelievable burning, hot sensation, which will force your eyes to close and have involuntary eye closure, and which give you plenty of time to get away. It's a non-lethal option. If you are spitting out verbal commands of stop, stay, get back, don't come near me, and they don't listen, you have free range to shoot them and take off.
And they call it pepper spray because it is pepper.
It's pepper. It's red pepper. It's from habanero peppers. So it shoots red pepper. It's the natural color of the pepper. It's just an unbelievably hot product. I wouldn't put it on your eggs or eat it. It's
no.
It's a great tool to have, and everyone needs to carry it. It's a wonderful tool.
And now I'm actually a certified pepper spray instructor, and as part of the course, I had to be sprayed with it in the eyes, and then we had to actually take down 2 assailants as part of that course. And not only does it, cause the tearing, but it gets into your lungs. It can cause gasping for breath. It's kind of akin to being hit in the gut with a baseball bat.
Yeah, to say it lightly.
Yeah.
We have a lot of officers that have to take the hit, and a lot of officers would rather be tased than pepper sprayed, because tasers last, once you let go of that trigger, you start getting feeling back, whereas pepper spray can last up to 45 minutes, and it's a long 45 minutes when you're trying to grasp for air and trying to stay calm. You're fighting off in a training situation, you're fighting off your trainer, and then getting deconned, and it's a miserable experience.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is the difference between pepper spray and mace, which everyone knows have heard about that?
Well, mace is it's from CN tear gas. We have our pepper spray is a red pepper only spray. We have 2 kinds actually. We have Saber Red, which is a red pepper only spray, which many law enforcement agencies use. We outfit the NYPD. We outfit U.S. Marshals and Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, just to name a few, amongst thousands of agencies worldwide. But we also have a blended spray, which is CS tear gas and red pepper. And a lot of civilians love the CS tear gas and red pepper because they already know that the CS tear gas is an irritant and it burns. And when you add that red pepper, it just makes for an unbelievable, miserable experience, which is what you want. But a lot of law enforcement agencies use our Saber Red, which is the red pepper only spray. So it's really just personal preference. We don't sell one out the other. It's just what the civilian, the consumer wants to carry.
Right. And I happen to favor pepper spray over the tear gas because we have to, it's not going to work in every single situation. It may just only slow the person down. Don't expect them to drop like a dead bug on the ground that you've just sprayed with Raid, right? It may just slow them down, but to me it works more effectively more of the time than the tear gas does. That's why I like it. People always ask, is it legal in all states?
It is legal in all 50 states. Some states, such as New York, have a little bit of size restriction or even a formula restriction, but Saber makes formulas for all the 50 states. So anybody can carry it. It just may be a couple stipulations when you go to purchase.
Right. So you got to familiar yourself. Just ask your local police department if there are any restrictions on it.
That's correct.
Now you got a couple of products that I like. There's something for runners. Talk quickly about what that is.
We have it's a 0.75 ounce can, and it is wrapped in a grip, a hand grip. It wraps around your hand, and the whole idea with pepper spray is to be accessible. So this unit is in the palm of your hand while you're running. That your keys aren't dangling. You're not messing around with it. So when you have a firm grip on it. So if someone sneaks up behind you, it's already in your hand, and you are ready. No one's going to wait for you to either, obviously if you're running, but even to grab it out of your purse or get it out of your pant pocket. Accessibility is the key to all pepper spray in any situation. So we do have a full line of pepper sprays, from key rings to joggers to home units.
Terrific. And you've got a pink pepper spray?
We do. Our pink pepper spray sells so well. We had a wonderful opportunity to team up with the National Breast Cancer Foundation about 3 years ago. This unit has just done so well and has helped so many women. We've donated over $228,000 in the last few years. It's pink. It's pretty. Women love pink colors. They love women colors.
I want one too. Will you send me one?
I will send you one. I will send you one. And then it makes the donation, so it helps the National Breast Cancer Foundation help their goal in saving lives.
Send me one, and I'll send a donation to the foundation. Give out the website, Amy, so people can take a look at what you've got.
Our website is www.saberred.com. That's S as in Sam, A, B as in boy, R-E, red.com.
And I've got tips for using defense sprays on my crimeprevention101.com blog. It'll give you all the merits, the limitations. You want to know it fully. Don't just get it without knowing everything that it can do and under what circumstances. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Amy, for for coming on the show with me, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thanks, Susan. I appreciate the opportunity. I had a great time.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for tonight. And please don't forget, we'd love to hear from you. By all means, post your comments or suggestions on my blog. Email me, solutions@fightsafe.com. You might even be a guest on the show. I'd love to tell your story so we can get some important information out. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. And you know what? You and I will be doing this again next week, same time, same place. It'd be a crime not to listen. So stay tuned and stay safe.
We hope you got some useful information and inspiration this week on Crime Prevention 101. Susan Bartlestone invites you to join us again next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on Voice America. If you want to learn more about Susan's guests, sign up for her newsletter, or find out about upcoming teleseminars and workshops, go to www.crimeprevention101.com today. Have a great week and a safe week.